Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I hope you all are doing okay this morning. Let me check my volume. While I do this, if you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the content through Patreon. I feel like I'm a man on a wall today. There's fascinating, bizarre stuff that's taking place in the Texas election. There were reports that people's votes were being flipped, that they would put in one, they would look at it, and it would be something different when they were voting straight ticket. Texas officials have confirmed these reports and have gone further and say this is taking place in 30% of the cases. And not just that the machines that are doing this are used all throughout the country. And to add gravy on top, that there is no sticker or post-it or something that they can walk away with to verify that they voted for who they voted for. It's a black box voting. You leave with faith in the machine itself. Faith in a machine that has been switching votes. The Republican official is assiduously sticking to this idea that nothing to see here, there's no fault in the machine, it has everything to do with user error. Bullshit. If this is happening this often, that is not user error. There's something wrong with the machine. What I'm saying is, and I'm saying this from the perspective of a software engineer. I built a machine. It was for the person, I had percent of stock in the machine that I built. The thing never went to service, but the machine boiled down to, had to take in information from a person who's putting it in. Now, when you're putting in information, this is probably too much information, but whatever. When you're typing in the data, what I learned, unfortunately, is there a 3-second lag. It's like a 0.3 or 3-second lag. Meaning if a person hit a 1, and when they moved to the next digit that they were typing in, they weren't able to do it because of a literally built-in lag time between the ability to hit buttons in that way. That's a problem. Now, I can't, as a creator of the device, say, well, people just need to slow down. Because when people sped through it, they were missing numbers. 3, 2, 5, 6, 8. And you might get 3 and a 5. I can't turn around and say, you just need to slow down and that's not an error in the machine. No, that's a failure of the machine, especially if people are using the machine in a particular way and just through the natural course of the way they use the machine is fucking up. I had to find a way to get rid of that lag when I built the machine, so when people went blazing through, it was able to get their numbers. It is not enough to say people are using the machine wrong if in the normal way they're going about their course, it's flipping votes. But that's exactly what's taking place. In the normal way in which a human being will use a machine, it is flipping votes. 30% of the counties, including the election with Beto and Ted Cruz. For all we know, there could be an upswell of people who are taking Ted Cruz out of his seat. But in this case, it's a black box. We have no idea what the election results are going to be at this point. We have no idea if the election is even right. We have no idea. It is a black box. And since it's switching votes in many of these counties, we have no idea. It gives people at the very end of the process kind of this appraisal. But how many of those people just kind of blitzed through, not paying attention? How many of those people just went through assuming that the machine was going to do what the machine was supposed to do? The guy in Texas is screaming at the top of his lungs that this is not an error, this is not an error, this is not an error, this is user error. BS! BS! If the machine is doing that, then that's a fuck up in the machine. That machine needs to be replaced. The machine needs to be updated. And I would argue that you should have paper ballots in the first place because those machines shouldn't be trusted. But this is where we are. Instead of actually figuring out who is the person we're actually choosing, we're attacking the people who are doing the votes. Let's take a look at the story real quick. Some Texans are voting machines or flipping selections to the other party. The Texas hard e-slate machines, let's stop up here. The Secretary of State's office said Friday that there have been reported issues with the hard e-slate voting machines, which are used in around 30% of the counties statewide and which feature a wheel for selecting candidates and buttons to move forward for the screens. But it says that they are caused by voters themselves and occur when they complete and submit ballots too quickly. If this is happening often, then this is a failure of the machine. This is not a feature. This is a bug. This is something that should be fixed. Full stop. The hard e-slate machines are not malfunctioning. They are. The problem being reported are a result of user error. It is not. Usually voters hitting a button or using the selection wheel before the screen is finished rendering. Then the machine should not allow people to do that. The machine should disallow that process if the machine is going to flip the votes. This is an error in the machine. Call it what it is. He doesn't want to call it that because it's a massive fuck up all throughout the country and puts in the question who people are putting in office. Because how do we know? We have no idea what percentage of people were putting in voted for one and thought it was somebody else. Says Sam Taylor, spokesman for the Office of Secretary of State Roland Pablos, who was appointed by Republican Governor Greg Abbott. The machines are used in around 80 countries, including the state's largest, Harris, which is home to Houston, as well as Travis, which includes Austin, and Tarrant, encompassing Fort Worth. Early voting in Texas began Monday and has been featured strong turnout and long lines. It runs through November 2nd ahead of November 6th, Election Day. The Texas hard e-slate machines do not provide receipts or other forms of paper trail to voters. That's great. Black box. But those casting ballots do see a screen that shows their choices before the final submission. That's assuming that the person looks. Some people may blitz through, especially if they're blazing through those screens. It's possible they may blow through without paying attention and can go back and make changes. Complaints about flip votes have cropped up elsewhere in the past election cycles. Similar machines are used in parts of Indiana, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Virginia, according to Verified Voting, a nonprofit group focused on ensuring the accuracy of elections. In a statement to supporters Friday, Cruz cited multiple reports of race selections changing and added, once you select the Republican Party ticket, please be patient and do not select next until the ballot is populated. All of the selections. An advisory to county clerks and elections administrators issued Tuesday by Keith Ingram, the Secretary of State's Office Director of Elections, said, "We have heard from a number of people on the hard e-slate machines that they have voted straight ticket. It appeared to them that the machine had changed one or more of their selections to a candidate from a different party." Texas Democratic Party called the issue a malfunction, because it is, and said that it was causing Democrats to inadvertently vote for Cruz. Oh, how gross. It also accused the Secretary of State's office of not doing enough to warn potential voters. They are not. Those machines should not be in service if that's what those machines are doing in the normal operation or the normal way and people would use the machine. I'm trying to make that clear. As a software engineer, there are certain things that you disallow if it's not a behavior that you want. And in this case, vote flipping is not a behavior that you want. There is no situation where those votes should be flipped in that way. And it should not be up for the user at the very end of the process to affirm something that they affirmed in the previous screens. As a software engineer, it should be fixed, not held up to the user to do that for the machine. This is a malfunction. Party Chairman Gilberto Henzo said that statement that Texas Republican government blamed voters and did nothing. Yeah, that's true. He called for a statewide public service announcement to warn voters, training for poll workers on the issue, and removal of all malfunctioning machines. That's sane. Or paper ballots. Taylor said his office had no legal authority whatsoever to force any voting machine vendors to make upgrades if their voting systems are otherwise in compliance with federal and state law. If they're flipping votes, looks like you wouldn't necessarily need to wait for federal and state law. It looks like you would do the right goddamn thing and remove those machines. And the Hart Eastlake system was certified in 2009. He said the counties are responsible for purchasing their own new equipment. We will continue to educate Texas voters using existing resources, meaning we will continue to do nothing, Taylor said, and urged Texans casting ballots to take their time and slow down and carefully review their ballot. That means nothing. That means nothing. Texas machines are flipping votes. And the person who is responsible for this is not going to do anything about it. Be aware. Be aware. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. Of course, you can always support through Patreon. This is aggravating to me. Like, the hallmark of any representative government or any democracy is the ability for people to vote and have their vote counted. Because otherwise, how do you know who you're putting in the office? The hallmark, the cornerstone of this stuff is for one man, one woman, one vote, and they go out there and make that vote, and that vote counts. And for them to know and have confidence in that vote counting. You have voting machines that are flipping votes. How the hell do we know who will win, especially if the election is close, which this election may be? Polls say one thing, but polls don't necessarily matter. This election can be far tighter than what they're saying it is, especially if there's an upswell. Beto was able to raise $30 million. He wasn't be able to do that if he wasn't popular, if there wasn't a groundswell. We have no idea what that election result is going to be. It is vitally important. I want Ted Cruz to go home and kick rocks. I want Ted Cruz to lose. But in order for that to happen, and in order for there to be confidence in the system, the votes need to be counted as they are. It is nonsensical that the richest country on the planet can't afford to make sure that the machines that they're voting work as prescribed. That's not flipping votes. That's not, well, the person has to slow down. That's as a normal person goes about voting in the process. It should choose their hand. It should vote. It should count. It's aggravating. That's all. I'll end this here. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. And of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks all.